Hello everyone and welcome to Amanpour. Here's what's coming up.
A disputed election in Georgia. President Salome Zurabishvili joins me from Tbilisi. She says voters are victims of Russia's hybrid warfare. Then, Iran attacks, Israel responds. What happens now? I ask analyst Ali Vaez how to resolve tensions in an already volatile region. And
make something beautiful. Have honest conversation. Don't fall back on cliche. And be brave.
A controversial dance work returns to the New York stage. Legendary choreographer Bill T. Jones is very much still here. Also,
it's important for the public to understand, what does mass deportation actually mean?
Hari Srinivasan speaks with immigration expert Aaron Reiklin-Melnick about the real cost of Donald Trump's mass deportation plan.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Christiane Amanpour in London. In Tbilisi, Georgia, voters have come out to protest the results of this weekend's elections. Opposition leaders claim the vote was tainted by Russian interference. Outside observers report troubling conditions, citing pervasive intimidation of voters inside and outside polling stations. Videos like this are circulating, claiming blatant ballot stuffing at one election precinct. And this contested election is not happening in a vacuum. In Moldova, in Lithuania, in the Czech Republic, and now in Georgia, there are persistent allegations of Russian interference, as Moscow uses various methods of hybrid warfare to deter countries formerly in its orbit from moving closer to the West. Now, the Georgian president, Salome Zurabishvili, is leading the opposition response. She says recognizing these elections, quote, would be tantamount to legitimizing Russia's takeover of Georgia. And she is joining us now from Tbilisi. Madam President, welcome back to our program.
Thank you very much.
You've been outside, you've just come in from these protests, which you called, so far they're peaceful, to protest this vote and not to accept it. Why exactly? I mean, people went to the polls. Are you not worried about, I don't know, violence or some awful crackdown or something?
Not at all, because we have seen protests in Tbilisi when the Russian laws were adopted. We have seen protests last year, this year. The Georgian population is very peaceful, but they peacefully defend their constitutional rights to have their vote, to keep their vote. And in this case, it's more than their votes, it's their European future.
Let me just ask you about what leads you to say that they have been rigged. We've heard, obviously, from outside observers and the others. We know that Russia still occupies, I think, about 20% of your territory, similar to what it occupies in Ukraine. But it obviously denies interfering. What is your evidence?
Well, the evidence is the fact that 70% of the Georgian population in all opinion polls is supporting the European way and the European integration. And suddenly it's turned around in one election when people have been coming out steadily to support this European path. Everything has been used in this election, all the different frauds and rigging of election, all the instruments, and especially a new one, electronic voting, which has been proven that they have been using IDs that were taken from citizens and have been used 7 times, 10 times, 17 times. All this evidence has been and is being collected. What is now in process is showing the systemic nature of the violations that have taken place. Frauds we have known, frauds of this extent, and frauds of this multiplicity of manners is the first time. It's without precedent in Georgia, and I think also in other countries.
You mentioned, and we mentioned that, well, you said that a lot of your population came out to protest the Russian-type laws, like anti-LGBTQ laws that this party that claims to have won imposed, because it is in power. Georgia Dream is prime minister, you are president. So that it is cracked down on foreign NGOs, calling them foreign agents, like the Russians have, and etc. But Georgian Dream says they too are pro-EU. They also want to get EU. They read the same polls that you do, that the mass population wants to join the EU. So they want to join the EU. Why would they be interfering?
I don't know, but clearly whom we have to listen to are the Europeans that have clearly said to the Georgian authorities, to the ruling party, that you cannot pretend that you will join the EU doing what you are doing. You cannot join it while adopting Russian law. You cannot join it adopting LGBTQ law. You cannot join it when you're announcing as your election program that you will put in jail the opposition leaders, that you will ban some of the opposition parties, that you will put the non-governmental organizations under Russian laws, the way the civil society is treated in Russia. So that is the answer of all the European leaders and of the recent European Council. There will be a new European Council in coming days, which will certainly confirm this. It's not up to the Georgian Prime Minister to say at what conditions we will join Europe. We have to deliver on the promises that we have made and that the Georgian population is ready to uphold.
What do you expect the protests to achieve?
Well, today is just a demonstration and it's very impressive. I just come back from there and it's very impressive that demonstration that has been just announced yesterday is filling out the main avenue of Tbilisi. Those people are coming very peacefully to say we have voted, we want our votes to be defended, and we want our European future, our integration future to be defended. That's all they are saying today. They're listening to the political parties and to their game plans that they are proposing, and that will continue probably in the next days. I don't know exactly when. Now, the outcome of all this is twofold. One is that there are calls for international investigation to add to the evidence that has been gathered here to show the image, the global image, the massive image of the manipulation and intimidation that happened. And then the pressure probably will come from European and American governments that have also called for an international investigation, that pressures on the government to review, re-examine the results of this election. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't happen in a reasonable time, then probably the call will change to new elections. But that's up to the political parties and again to the population.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Georgian Dream is labeled, I think, by you all as a pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin party. The backer, I think his name is Ivanishvili, is Georgia's richest man. He's a billionaire. He has a fortune worth some 25% of your GDP. What makes you think he's pro-Russian? People who know him say he's not pro-American, pro-EU, pro-Ukraine, pro-Moscow. He's just pro-power. He's pro-himself. Why do you think he's pro-Russia?
He's pro himself. He's pro his money. He has just said that in a recent interview. But at the same time, objectively, and that's what is important, Georgian policies, the policies of the Georgian Dream since the last 2.5 years at least, have been gradually moving towards Moscow. Moscow has been constantly complimenting, including very recently, the result of the elections, complimenting the Georgian Dream and making sure that they are conform to the propaganda of Russia on many issues that are very common between this government and Moscow. Mm-hmm. And the interest of Moscow in this is to make sure that Georgia does not follow up on the path towards Europe. We have gotten the candidate status last December. We were very close to starting our path to opening of negotiations of adhesion, and that is what displeases Moscow. And every move that the Georgian government has made this year is clearly designed to go against all of the recommendations of the European Commission to make sure that we don't get the approval of the European leaders and the European Commission to move closer to the EU.
And your current Prime Minister, head of Georgian Dream, has said they won in a landslide and claims that anything that the opposition is saying is, yeah, every country has irregularities, but nonetheless we won in a landslide. Given the fact that one of your predecessors, Mikhail Saakashvili, is still in jail, do you worry that you might be targeted if the opposition victory stands? Or if the government victory, stands?
I have to be worried about myself when I'm worried about the whole country and where it can go if things are in the hands of the Georgian dream. What they have said in their electoral program is that they would put everyone in jail, that they will ban opposition parties, that they will implement completely the law on foreign agents, which will prevent not only the NGOs that are working with our international organizations to work, but also humanitarian organizations. That could prevent also the transfers from our immigrant communities to Georgia. That is the program of the Georgian dream. So my personal future in that is not as important as the future of Georgia. And that is what our partners, both European and Americans, have to worry about more than about myself.
Madam President, thank you so much indeed for joining us. And we will continue to follow this story.